Welcome back to Studio STL. Oh, look at, there's a selfie right there.
That celebrity historian.
That is a celebrity historian
right there. Presidential home, James Madison, and of course also father of the Constitution. You go in there, it's a house museum.
Look at that. Here's another
Local one. That's the Missouri Historical Society's Library and Research Center, formerly a temple. Now where you can go and check it out as a museum and a research center right here locally in St. Louis. I had to put on the cool glasses before I go research.
Yeah. There's another selfie. Did you get a theme here?
That's right.
It's museum selfie. It was what we're talking about. And look, here's another one. Where are you here?
That's in the North Dakota State Museum. And, of course, that is a fossil.
That's cool. There you go.
Rosie the Riveter. You cannot,
Rosie the Riveter.
Classic history, right? I mean, like right there.
I love it.
That's in Pittsburgh. So showing you stuff from across the country here, locally and across the country. So you can see that, when you go to a museum, you can really experience it. Now, that's inside the temple, the synagogue temple that became the Missouri Library Research Center. So we saw the outside earlier when I had my glasses on. Now it's inside. Look how beautiful it is on the inside.
Gorgeous.
Right here locally in St. Louis. You can go check it out.
At Museum Selfie Day is a great time for you to go get photos just like that. And you're in a great city to do it because St. Louis is a great museum city.
It is. I would say the combination of quality. I used to work in the museum world. I know really well.
Yeah.
Diversity of different kinds of museums.
Sure.
And affordability. I'll give you a few examples. We got so many. We got at least a couple dozen, if not more, that are really high quality. In the art world, we have the museum, St. Louis, the Missouri Art Museum, right? The St. Louis Art Museum. We had the Contemporary Art Museum. We had the Religious Contemporary Art Museum. We had the Pulitzer Arts Foundation, and there's more. And then the sports side, we got the Cardinals Museum and Hall of Fame. How about the World Chess Hall of Fame, right?
Yes.
Another one. How about for family? You got the Science Center that a lot of folks know. That's free admission. And then you have, of course, something like the City Museum, right, which is architectural
one of a kind.
Yeah, reflects the identity of the city. And now, speaking of historic homes, how about the house museums that we have here? We have many of them. A couple of my favorites, the Field House Museum.
Yes.
Field, of course, was a family where a couple generations, one of whom was a children's poet and the other one was the attorney for Dred Scott. So in the Dred Scott case that helped lead to the Civil War, went to the Supreme Court, but it started at the old courthouse right in downtown, right here in St. Louis. You see there's a lot of historic homes that we have here. And, of course, the history museums. We have the Missouri History Museum. We have the one at the Arch that's on St. Louis. But let's not forget, St. Louis is not just local history, but nationally significant. The National Blues Museum, which I live near because it's a blues hub. How about the National Transportation Museum? Because we're in the center of the country. We're a big river hub, railroad hub, highway hub. And, of course, how about Lewis and Clark? We started a journey here. You can go to the Lewis and Clark Museum and check out replicas of their boats so that they used to go down the Missouri River and explore out west.
I mean, there's something for everybody. If you can't find a museum you like here, you're not looking hard enough.
That's right. It's a great museum city.
All right, you and I were talking earlier. Museums, are they still significant?
Absolutely. I think about it. Here, I got a copy of the Declaration of Independence for you.
Oh, fantastic.
So I can look at this online, right? Really helpful. But hold it in your hand. This is different. When you're actually seeing it in person and holding it, this is a different experience. Hundreds of millions of Americans go to museums every year, more than baseball, football, hockey, and basketball games combined. Believe it or not, we experience a lot more than we realize. And there is a leadership at the Metropolitan Museum in New York City used a great phrase that I love, which is that museums are a memory of mankind. And that's how I think about it. They reflect community identity. We have tens of thousands across the country. And when I think of that memory of mankind phrase, what comes to mind to me is the song, Billy Joel. We didn't start the fire.
Right.
It was always burning since the world's been turning. There's that historical reference, the world always turning. And he proceeds to list more than 100 different cultural, scientific, political, historical events that happened in his lifetime up to that point, which to me is kind of a song version of museum, giving that memory of mankind in that situation, right? Absolutely. So to me, museums create this experience. There are wonderful digital experiences for you to engage from your living room, but going and seeing it in person is totally different. You think about how the origin started with the ancient Greeks. Museum comes from museon, which comes from the word muse. Yeah. What does musing mean? Reflect, ponder, and I love that term, to learn. So the museum, that's the place where you can go reflect and ponder a little bit differently than when you sit, on your couch doing so. It's a different experience, and you really get to be immersed in the culture of whatever you're looking at.
Yeah, I love museums. My kids get on me because I read everything that's there. But I'm like, I'm reading it because somebody wrote it for it to be read. So
and to me, the objects and artifacts are part of that too. Now, think about different kinds of museums. For example, even the Library of Alexandria was a library, but you had a great book collection, but had objects and education. Aristotle, he created the Lyceum, which of course that Library of Alexandria is technically based upon. But later in Europe, what you find is kings and queens trying to show off their collections. It does become a sense of national pride. Why? Because it reflects the identity, right? The Louvre was actually a king's collection. But what happened in France? But what happened with the French Revolution, when everything went anti-royal, they beheaded the royalty and they opened the king's collection to the public. So I would say the Louvre in Paris is actually the world's first truly public museum in the 1790s. And that carries over to the U.S. You have Charles Wilson Peale, who paints multiple portraits of George Washington, opens up a cabinet of curiosities in Philadelphia. Later, P.T. Barnum, the guy who does circuses, shows freak shows, so it's a little bit different. And how about the Smithsonian in D.C.? It's point of national pride. I would say so. That still sticks with us today.
So many museums. So much more.
Which was donated, by the way, by a British person, James Smithson, donated the money to start the Smithsonian, which remains with us today.
There you go. Hey, museum selfie day.
Go take
Get your phone, go take your pics. Plenty of them. We'll be back.